The air in the florist shop was thick, cloying with the scent of $80 lilies and overpriced baby's breath. Outside, the February wind rattled the glass panes of Main Street blooms, but inside, it was a humid, floral sanctuary. I didn't feel the warmth. I felt the cold, familiar weight of a mission. "The usual, Sarah?" Martha asked, not looking up from a bunch of long-stemmed red roses. She didn't need to ask. We had done this every February for the last 7 years. "The usual," I said. I pulled a crisp $100 bill and a 20 from my purse. "Top shelf, no card, no name. Just make sure they arrive at the law firm by 10 a.m. sharp. Ask for Chloe." Martha finally looked up, a small, knowing smirk playing on her lips. She knew Chloe was ex-wife number 6 in the making. She also knew that by 6 p.m. tonight, Chloe would be crying in a parking lot while my ex-husband, David, screamed about loyalty into his cell phone. I didn't smile back. I didn't feel joy. I felt the same surgical precision I used when filing my taxes or auditing a balance sheet. David thought he had escaped the wreckage of our marriage with his ego intact and my old SUV. He thought the $142,000 he owed in back child support and missing assets was a debt that had simply expired. He was wrong. David's entire life was built on a foundation of lies and extreme paranoia. He spent his days looking over his shoulder, waiting for the world to treat him as poorly as he treated women. All I had to do was give that paranoia a little nudge. Drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. I'd love to know who's part of our community. People often ask me why I don't just move on. They see the 7 years since the divorce and assume that silence equals healing. I haven't healed in the way people think. I've simply recalibrated. In the early years, the anger was like a fever, hot, messy, and exhausting. I spent my nights staring at the ceiling, listening for the sound of my own car pulling into the driveway. Usually it didn't. I was a senior analyst working 60 hours a week, raising 3 children under the age of 6, and playing a perpetual game of "Where is David?" But anger burns out. Precision lasts forever. I eventually realized that David didn't deserve my shouting. He didn't even deserve my presence. He deserved the one thing he feared most: a mirror. I didn't want him back. I wanted him to live in the prison of his own making. Every Valentine's Day, I just help him turn the key. Our marriage wasn't a partnership. It was a long-term heist. While I was building a career and securing our children's future, David was working on his connections. That was his word for the women he met at dive bars and through mutual friends. He would disappear for 48 hours at a time, taking my 2018 Jeep Grand Cherokee, the one I had paid for in full with my signing bonus. He'd return with the gas tank on empty and the cloying smell of vanilla-scented perfume embedded in the leather seats. When I'd ask where he'd been, the air in the room would shift. The connections would instantly turn into accusations. He would tell me I was crazy. He'd say my job had made me cold and suspicious. If I pushed too hard or showed him the GPS logs from the car, the verbal abuse turned physical. I still have a digital folder on a secured drive. Inside is a scanned copy of the police report from July 14th, 2017. Case number 17-4922. It is the document that finally gave me the courage to trade my wedding ring for a restraining order. It's the evidence of a man who uses his hands when he runs out of lies. Then there's the math. David has 11 children in total. It's a staggering number that he shares with 6 different women. He hasn't seen any of them in years, including the 3 he has with me. While he was busy playing the charming, misunderstood bachelor on Facebook, I was keeping a secret ledger. I call it the debt of dishonor. The numbers are black and white, and they don't lie. The breakdown is specific. He owes exactly $84,200 in unpaid, court-ordered child support. Then there's the $42,000 for the Jeep, which he eventually totaled while driving uninsured 3 months after I kicked him out. Finally, there is the $16,450 in marital credit card debt he racked up in my name at hotels and jewelry stores before I could freeze the accounts. Total, $142,650. To the court system, David is just another deadbeat. To the women he dates, he is a struggling entrepreneur who just needs a woman who truly understands him. But to me, David is a liability that I am slowly, methodically liquidating. He thinks he's starting over with Chloe. He thinks he's found another safe harbor where he can live for free and cheat in peace. He has no idea that Chloe is about to receive a $120 bouquet of roses that will act as a detonator for his entire life. People on the outside always ask the same question. Why did you stay so long? They don't understand that a man like David doesn't show you the monster on the first date. He shows you a masterpiece. David was a specialist in what psychologists call intermittent reinforcement. One week, he was the doting father who brought home takeout and promised we'd finally take that trip to the coast. He'd look at me with eyes that seemed to scream for redemption, making me feel like I was the only person in the world who could save him from his own chaotic nature. That was the high. Then, the low would hit. He'd disappear. The Jeep would be gone. I'd be left balancing the checkbook, realizing he'd withdrawn $400 from the ATM at 3 a.m. at a strip club 3 towns over. When he returned, he wasn't sorry. He was defensive. He'd flipped the script so fast it gave me vertigo. Suddenly, I was the nagging wife whose lack of support drove him to seek peace elsewhere. I stayed because I was conditioned to believe that the next high was just around the corner. I stayed because I had 3 children who deserved a father, and I was willing to set myself on fire to keep them warm. I was the responsible one, the boring one, the one who worked while he dreamed. The breaking point didn't happen because of a hidden text or a lipstick stain. It happened because of a Tuesday night and a simple question. It was 9:45 p.m. David had been gone for 3 days. When he finally walked through the door, he looked disheveled, smelling of cheap gin and a perfume that wasn't mine. I didn't scream. I didn't even stand up. I stayed at the kitchen table, my laptop open to a spreadsheet of our mounting debts. "Where's the car, David?" I asked. My voice was level, cold. "Don't start with me, Sarah," he snapped, his jaw tightening. "I had a business meeting that ran late. I'm trying to provide for this family." "The GPS says the car has been parked at the Silver Sands Motel for 48 hours, I said, turning the laptop screen toward him. "And the bank shows you spent $212 at their bar. That was the grocery money." The silence that followed was heavy. It was the sound of a man realizing his mask had slipped. He didn't apologize. He didn't make up a new lie. Instead, he lunged. He grabbed the laptop and slammed it shut, nearly catching my fingers. Then he leaned in, his face inches from mine, and said the words that killed my love for him forever. "You think you're so smart because you have a degree? You're nothing. You're a placeholder. You're the person I come back to when I'm bored with the real fun. Now give me the spare keys, or I'll make sure you can't go to work tomorrow. That was the night of the police report. Case number 17-4922. As the blue and red lights flashed against our suburban siding, I didn't cry. I watched the officers lead him away in zip ties. I felt a circuit breaker click in my mind. I realized then that David's greatest weapon was his ability to make me feel small. But his greatest weakness? He was a cheater who was terrified of being cheated on. He projected his own infidelity onto everyone else. I didn't need to hit him. I didn't need to scream. I just needed to wait for Valentine's Day. The strategy for David's annual downfall didn't require a private investigator or a high-priced lawyer. It required $120 and a deep understanding of the cheater's paradox. A man who spends his life deceiving women is inherently convinced that everyone is as dishonest as he is. To David, a gift without a name isn't a romantic gesture. It's a confession. I call it the florist protocol. It started 3 years after the divorce, once I realized David was on a frantic cycle of replacing ex-wife number 3 with victim number 4. I sat down with Martha at Main Street Blooms. She had seen me through the darkest years. She remembered when I'd come in to buy flowers for myself just to feel a shred of beauty in a toxic house. "Martha," I said, leaning over the counter, "I want to send a bouquet. Red roses. The most expensive ones you have. But there can be no card. If she asks who they're from, your delivery driver says he doesn't know. The order was placed anonymously through the web portal." Martha's eyes twinkled behind her spectacles. She's lived in this town for 40 years. She knew David's reputation. "And who is the lucky lady?" "This year, it's Chloe." Chloe was a paralegal at a firm downtown. She was 26, ambitious, and currently posting Man Crush Monday photos of David on Facebook, claiming she had finally tamed the lion. She had no idea the lion was currently $142,000 deep in a hole and hadn't paid for his own dinner in 6 months. The execution was precise. February 14th, 10:12 a.m. I was sitting in my home office, 3 monitors glowing with the data of my real job, risk management. It was poetic. My professional life was dedicated to mitigating loss. My private life was dedicated to ensuring David's. I had a burner Facebook account. No friends, no photos, just a silent window into David's digital world. I waited. At 10:45 a.m., the first pebble hit the water. Chloe posted a photo. It was a stunning arrangement of 24 long-stemmed baccara roses, glistening under the fluorescent lights of her office. Her caption was glowing. "Someone knows how to make a girl feel special. Thank you, babe. Hashtag Valentine's Day. Hashtag Secret Admirer. Hashtag Blessed." I leaned back in my chair, sipping my black coffee. I knew exactly what was happening in David's world at that moment. David doesn't have $120. He doesn't even have $20. He's currently living off the allowance Chloe gives him while he gets his business off the ground. When he saw that post, he wouldn't feel proud. He wouldn't think, "Oh, how nice, someone sent my girlfriend flowers." His mind would immediately go to the Silver Sands Motel. He'd think about the 48 hours he spent there with other women while he was married to me. He'd think about the lies he told. He would assume Chloe was doing exactly what he had always done. I watched my phone. 11:15 a.m. A notification popped up on the burner account. Chloe had edited the post. The heart emojis were gone. The new caption read, "Wow, real mature, David. Real mature." The detonator had been pressed. The secret admirer tag was the poison. In a healthy relationship, a man would laugh and say, "I didn't send those, but I'm glad you like them." In David's world, a secret admirer is a direct threat to his ownership. I pulled up his public profile. His status update from 30 seconds ago was exactly what I expected. A wall of text in all caps. The public shaming had begun. Part 5. The Panic Phase and Final Confrontation. 652 words. By 1 p.m., the digital bloodbath was in full swing. David's Facebook wall looked like a crime scene. This was the panic phase, where David's fragile ego, fueled by a lifetime of his own infidelities, finally collapsed under the weight of a dozen roses he didn't pay for. The first post was a classic David redirection. Funny how loyal people suddenly have secret admirers the second you turn your back. I guess the truth always comes out on Valentine's Day. Don't call me. I'm done playing games. Then came the comments. In our small town, everyone watches the train wreck. Chloe, confused and humiliated, made the mistake of trying to reason with him in public. "David, I literally thought they were from you. There wasn't a card. Why are you doing this?" David's reply was a masterclass in projection. "Oh, you thought they were from me? With what money, Chloe? You know exactly what's in my account. Who is he? Is it your boss? Is that why you stayed late on Thursday?" I sat at my mahogany desk, the one I bought with the bonus I earned while David was out connecting, and watched the carnage. I could almost hear his voice, that high-pitched, frantic whine he gets when he's losing control. By 3 p.m., the confrontation moved from the digital world to the physical one. Chloe's office building has a glass-fronted lobby. I know this because I chose a florist that delivers via the front entrance. David, true to form, had driven Chloe's own car to her workplace to confront her. He didn't care about the onlookers. He didn't care that she was a professional trying to build a career. He only cared that his placeholder might belong to someone else. I received a text from a former mutual friend who worked in the same plaza. "You won't believe this. David is in the lobby of Miller & Associates screaming at Chloe about integrity. Security is calling the cops. He just threw a vase of roses across the marble floor." I felt a cold, familiar ripple of satisfaction. 7 years ago, David had thrown a laptop. Today, he was throwing roses. The pattern hadn't changed, but the target had. Chloe wasn't the one who could change him. She was just the next woman in line to be discarded by his paranoia. At 4:30 p.m., the final blow landed. Chloe posted a photo of a trash can. Inside were the shattered remains of the vase and the red roses I had carefully selected. Her caption was short. "Ex-wife number 2 told me to watch out. I should have listened. David, you're a pathetic, paranoid little boy. Stay away from me and my car." I smiled then. A real, genuine smile. I picked up my phone and sent a single message to Martha at the florist. "The delivery was successful. Same time next year?" Martha's reply came back instantly. "I'll keep the baccaras on ice for you, Sarah. Happy Valentine's Day." I closed my laptop. The silence in my house was beautiful. It wasn't the hollow silence of being alone. It was the heavy, luxurious silence of peace. My children were safe in the next room, unaware that their father was currently being trespassed from a law firm. David thought he was a player. He thought he was the one who decided when a relationship ended. He had no idea that for 7 years, I had been the one holding the remote. He was a serial cheater, trapped in a loop of his own making, and all I had to do was send a few flowers to remind him of exactly who he was. 2 weeks after Valentine's Day, I saw David's updated profile picture. He was standing in front of a bathroom mirror in a dimly lit studio apartment, his jaw set in that same arrogant, misunderstood pose. The background showed a stack of cardboard boxes and a stained mattress. Chloe had kicked him out that night, and since he had totaled my Jeep and lost her car in the breakup, he was back to taking the bus. He's currently trying to connect with a woman named Brenda. I know because Martha at the florist already has the address for Brenda's workplace in her database. 7 years have passed since I walked away from the violence and the vanished bank accounts. Today, I don't look for David in the rearview mirror. My life is full. My children are thriving, attending private schools funded by the very career David told me made me cold. That $142,650 debt may never be paid in cash, but I collect the interest every February in the form of his absolute, self-inflicted isolation. People call what I do petty. I call it an annual audit of a man's character. If David were a good man, a bouquet of anonymous flowers would be a compliment. If he were a faithful man, they would be a mystery. But because he is a predator, they are a mirror. He doesn't lose these women because of me. He loses them because he cannot stand the sight of his own reflection. I've learned that you don't always need a courtroom to find justice. Sometimes, you just need to understand the psychology of your enemy better than he understands himself. Silence isn't just a lack of noise. It's a strategic position. And when you stop shouting, you start winning. If you've ever had to become the villain in someone else's story just to survive your own, hit that like button and share this story. Let me know in the comments. Have you ever used someone's own paranoia to set yourself free? And don't forget to subscribe. We're building something real here. To the ladies out there, if you get flowers with no name this year, don't thank your boyfriend. Just look at his face. The reaction will tell you everything you need to know. Happy Valentine's Day.